No word limit. I think you guys can hear me now. Sorry guys, mic was muted. Didn't know. Okay, first step is just to quickly get a cool MOS atlas that you like. Let's say instance, let's take this one. What we can do is we can quickly just open the files. Okay, just bring in the opacity map like this, and just bring our grid view. Now can do is go into the top view on default shading mode with wireframe enabled. By the way, guys, if you have any questions, just pop them in the comments. I'll try to get to them. Important thing here is to keep it square, because all the Quixel assets or atlases are in a square format. So once you've done this, you can just edit poly, and let's add a where is it? Swift loop there, 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 and okay. So now what you can do is let's take two of these at the top. It's got a few here. It doesn't need to be perfect because the atlases, the opacity map will do the rest of the work for you, obviously. So let's just cut a few here. This one's why we need to have these corners is once we've enabled this, we can, for instance, we can delete all these. Yeah, we can delete all these. For some reason, it doesn't want to select that. Just hold on a moment, guys. All these. Because these assets will be mostly used for in the distance close-ups. If you want to do it in a close-up format, what you then can do is just tessellate the model a bit and add a displace modifier on top of it. That way then you can displace it via the displacement texture as well. So once you're done with that, you can cut a few polygons here, make it into quads if you want. We'll optimize this one as well. Well, that's piece. To enable preserve UVs. Because what this will do is it will keep the UVs intact. If you move a pivot point or a vertex, it will be kept in place. Let's just move these down and around. There isn't any wasted space. Got this piece there, and well that. Got some vertices down here as well. There's another way you can do this as well. If you have ZBrush, you can take in the alpha map and subdivide the plane a few times without smooth enabled, and then you can mask it via alpha, and with that you can then hide the unselected ones and delete those and just export that out to your DCC application. Yeah, that's one way of doing it. Let's just quickly. Okay. Cut these down. Basically, qualifying with mesh. For this instance, those are alright. What you now can do is we can enable, let's put a subdivide modifier on this. Just take it down a bunch. 20 or 10. Yeah. Okay, because this will be close-up mask. So once this is done, and collapse this, go into reset XForm, and then just collapse that model as well. Now, if we enable let's just add a polymer, a modifier, and just add our displacement from our Megascans folder, and just raise the value, you'll start to see the moss deforming to a point that you like. So something that, and once that is done, you can collapse it. These corners are done now. You can delete those. Okay, and detach these pieces in separate objects. You can call them moss, whatever 1001 or whatever you like to call them. Just detach them all. I'm just gonna keep them as objects. Okay, the next step is to create a circle via spline to scatter them in. Depending on the size patch you want. Once that is done, you can, I've forest pack installed here. You can select your forest pack. Just select your forest pack, your spline circle there, and when that's enabled, you can take these, select them like this, and then let's just go into the effect pivot point only and center them to the object. Okay, and then down to a point and just go into the top view and move these ones separately to each point you want them to be scattered from, like so. go into the side view. All these code, I've probably select them all. Let's just scroll down. Let's move these down. Okay. Once that is done, you can select the forest back object. Select all these items. There. Yes, and just add them. Go down to the distribution panel and just enable full, and just take the value way down. I forgot to rotate these. And with that, let's just rotate these upwards, something like that. What you can do is go to the transform, rotate them a bit randomly, and something like that. Let's just make this a bit nicer to look at. Let's just quickly bring in the assets here, the trade maps as well. File. Quickly add the opacity, normal, everything like that, and just quickly create a V-Ray material. Quickly add the material. Add these to the appropriate channels. This one to the, where's the opacity map? Let's just quickly add the V-Ray normal map as well, and add that to the slot. Just to make sure all the blur values are down. These to V-Ray bitmap. Once that is done, you can also, let's just take this to ACES color format. Management, SSCG, auto. Okay. That is done. Just make sure the albedo is set to sRGB primaries, and the where's Max? Okay, the shader is set up now, so we can quickly add that to the forest back item. As you can see, you can make this more denser if you want to. Add that. Go to areas and enable scale there. What this will do, it it will make the moss closer to the spline a bit smaller, something like that. Let's just quickly bring in a rock asset from Megascans as well to scatter this on. Let's just quickly get something nice. Locate something. Let's take this one. Okay. That's enabled. Like this, let's go to the export options and let's take the high poly model, and everything seems to be in order. Just click export. Once that is done, it will import into 3. The value that we like. Now the other step that we need to take is to convert this to an object. Well, you can convert it to an object and you can scatter this as a forest bar object as well, but let's convert this to a and let's just say edible mesh. There it is. What you can do is you can scale this down as well as you want. Sorry, not like that. Scale this down, something about there. Okay. For that, it seems I forgot to install Tyflow in Max 20. What Max is mine? 2020. Okay, no, it's there. Next step is standard objects. Just add the Tyflow icon. Just open that up. Tyson made it a bit easier for everybody. So now you just you right click and go to the presets flow and just add the scatter flow sample. In here, what you need to do is in the shape operator, you should select you can either export that moss as a proxy and then just import that as a proxy, or you can just select this as a reference node and like that. Okay. Next step is we need to tell Tyflow to scatter it now, and on which object we want to scatter it now. So let's select in the position object operator, just select the rock asset, like so. To enable rendering in IPR, you need to set the mesh operator to triangulate mesh, otherwise it won't show up in IPR. Or once you do a intense heavy scene, it would be wise to put this to render instances if you have V-Ray installed. Next is let's take the scale down of this way down. Let's go to something like 20. Maybe 15, something like that. Keep it on geometry so you can see how the model looks like. Next is we need to tell Tyflow to scatter the moss on a certain normal angle. So you can just activate the density by normals. As you can see, some of them are starting to disappear, the other normals. Let's just increase the total to about maybe 4,000 and a bit more. Yeah, let's just quickly put this to bounding boxes so it's a little bit faster. In the rotation operator, you can go to objects and select the rock asset. You can take this a bit further and add a noise map into the position operator as well as to a scale operator. So where the corners, the map is a bit more blurred or lighter, the moss will get smaller as the gradient goes off. So let's just quickly set up this shader so we can see what's happening here. Okay. Just quickly add the two-sided material as well. It's important to add in the event. You need to add the, where is it? Okay, that. There it is, instance material. You need to add that, otherwise your shader won't be applied to the mesh. The mesh will be orange. So once that is in the event, you can just add the two-sided material to the event, see material like that. Just give it a few minutes. Once that is done, just scroll out and let's add a quick dome light. Go down to V-Ray. Add the V-Ray bitmap there. Just a Mars. Let's just get a sunny look. Once that is done, open the material editor as usual and just throw in the instance and just make sure this is in ACES as well. Okay, that's done. Let's just quickly throw in a camera here. Like 8. The dome light. I like to lock that icon so I can turn it here manually. You can do it in the map as well. So now let's just quickly open the IPR. Show you that the IPR won't. It will work now, but I won't take that chance for a crash. So I'm putting this to render instances. So now, to enable to see the Typhoon Moss, you need to activate production renderer. That. Okay, something is appearing there. Let's just quickly stop this, make this a bit bigger so we can check what's happening. Okay, let's just lock these. Good. something like that. Just to bucket, I like working in bucket mode. Excuse me. Start this again. Okay, so the moss is appearing on the asset. We can increase the value some more, and the size we can scale it down a bit. So let's just quickly stop that as well. Go to the other mode. Also, let's just take the material itself and let's just add the opacity map to clip mode. Max depth something like 3 or something like that. And let's just add some reflective value to the moss as well. We open Typeflow here. Okay, once this is done, you can, because we're in box mode, you can increase this value way more. So let's take this to maybe 10,000 or so in this folder here you have the ability density by texture. So if, for instance, you have a, like, I don't know if Megascan still has it, the fuzz map. You can put that in this and then it will be scattering on the same places where the moss of the original scan is, or say for instance you had a asset you created in ZBrush or something like that where you made a paint layer for your moss, you can put that in this channel here. So what I'll be doing is I will use this with the density by normal with a noise map. So let's just add the add that into the map there. I've had to rebuild. Okay, so quickly to check the size of the noise, you can either create a dummy material for the noise on the rock so you can see the scale of the noise. So let's just disable the blur value and work with the low and high value of the noise. Okay, so you can see it's starting to work there. Let's add a scale operator. Within the scale operator, let's add the text map as well, the noise. So it works with the noise value there. That in. The object. As you can see, it's starting to work where the noise is working. Just work the value of the low and high. Just put this to 35. Much. Let's take it back to maybe 15, something like that. Okay, let's go back to Typeflow and let's just increase the value. let's just let's go back into the physical cam and close all these. Just show frame so we can get it close. Just hide the HDR at the back and quickly re-render this. Okay, after that, we can see the looking way better now. So what you can do is you can either increase the density a bit more or work with the noise map some more, so it's not this patchy. You can work with the density by normal to make it affect the flatter areas as well. So let's just quickly stop this. Okay, let's just open the TimeFly object, the editor, and in the position upload, let's play with the threshold a bit more. Let's add it 35. Okay, it's appearing more on the flatter areas. Let's make it a bit more, maybe something like 55. Okay, it's covering the object a bit more. Let's add the noise modifier. Let's take some of this away. This is basically just a back and forth business to get the right amount that you were looking for or the desired look. We'll crank this up even higher if you want to. Let's just quickly check this out now. Let's go back to the noise and add a bit more variance into them there, something like that. You can also play with the scale as well. And down, it will make it more patchy, increase the high value. And let's keep it at a value of 25 in size. A bit more. Hit re-render. Any questions, guys? Just bear in mind, if you crank this up, the scatter amount, it will take some time to export the assets out. So if you know this will be a close-up asset, just keep that in mind. For assets further away, I would create bigger patches and keep the MOS assets themselves down to a few polygons. If you can just use cards, that would be even better to save your RAM management. Yeah, and keep the opacity to clip mode if you're using V-Ray. But I think the same principle applies to other DCC applications. So yeah, as you can see, it's looking way better. I'm just not happy with those little spots over there. But that's just tweaking overall, just working with the noise map, or what you can do is if you have Mixer, you can take this to Mixer and work with the procedural stack there as well, and paint your own MOS map, fuzz map if you want. The same goes for Substance Painter. But as you can see, it's looking way better from what it was. One thing that you can do, you can quickly, let's re-edit this rock texture so it looks a bit nicer with the rest of the scene. Let's check this to SSCG and let's just throw in a color correction node. Don't be afraid to mess with the maps if you want. I usually do to get the desired look that I want. Let's just take the value down and desaturate the map. Like that. For this, I'm just gonna quickly run the IPR just to see the rock asset itself. Oh, that's looking way better. As you notice, the new V-Ray has the ability, in sRGB mode it's displaying in ACES, but I like using the OCI node, display correction, rather than that. Just quickly go to where I saved my config file. As you can see, I've added the config file to my need to, I don't want to scroll down to thousands and thousands of display devices, view transforms. So once that's enabled, now you can see it looks more. Just to remember, the ACES has a S-curve baked in, I think. So once that is done, you can just keep it like that. Okay, and now what you can do, we can stop the IPR and re-render the production mode. A few minutes, 2 seconds. Hold up. Okay, let's just take down the exposure a bit too much. We cranked up the scatter amount, so it will take a bit longer to render. You can further optimize it some more. But this is the way I create my moss on my trees, etc. This was just a quick setup. If you have more time, available, you can create a better die flow object to your needs. I would advise rather use further from the camera, where I would just use normal plane texture or texture the asset in Mixer or Substance Painter to overcome the polygon cap. So, but this works great for close-ups, you know. I think I'll just remove the noise itself. You can use Forestback to scatter this as well, but then you would need a map, like a fuzz map, to be able to scatter with Forestback. Let's just quickly open the icon. There it is. Open the editor, and within the scale we can either, let's just remove the operator itself. Okay. Let's just go back to the position, and let's just take this down to 35, so we see more of the rock. But what I like to do is I like to create a map where I can blur the edges so that the moss gets smaller and smaller and smaller, so you have that nice rounded corner, if I can call it that. But yeah, guys, this was my first stream. A bit rusty with this sort of thing, but anyway, I think. Let me know what you guys would like to see next in the comments, or just let me know.